All right. Thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Jamie Watts. I'm the Director of Events with the Newcastle County Chamber of Commerce. We are thrilled today to have Alex Lalani from Whisman Giordano and Associates. He is going to be going over with all of us some of the changes to the tax requirements for this year, the extensions, and really what that means for us as individuals and for our businesses. Alex has over 10 years of public accounting experience, and he specializes in closely held businesses, construction, estate trust, high wealth individuals, and real estate. So I'm going to turn this over to Alex. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I hope everybody's and their families are healthy in the midst of the crisis that's going on. And there's a lot of things that have changed from a tax perspective as far as the filing deadlines and the payment deadlines for federal and state taxes. And before I start, I just want to give you kind of an update of what our firm is doing to kind of curb the spread of the illness. Since the onset, we've taken this illness very seriously, and the first steps that we've taken is kind of limit the amount of people that are in the office to under 10. And we have invested heavily in remote access, which gives the employees the ability to work from home. So a lot of the employees are working from home. We're keeping less than 10 people. Our doors are locked, so nobody comes in and out. We have drop boxes outside where people can drop off their documents and pick them up. And so that seems to be the best course of action from a business perspective, so we can continue to serve our clients and have our employees continue to work if they're able to from home. So that's something that you want to keep in mind as a business. You want to come up with a plan of how to curb this. And this seems to be working for us. It's different for every business, so you might want to revisit that and kind of come up with a plan of how we're going to tackle this and avoid spreading the illness and get back to normal as soon as we can. With that being said, the federal government has stepped in and has done everything in their power to kind of help businesses, individuals, not have the additional burden of filing their taxes and making the payments. So this is what basically we're going to start covering here for the COVID-19. So as you can see from my slide here, so the federal government has come up with some of the tax extensions. So who qualifies for these extensions? It's basically everybody: individuals, trusts, estates, corporations, and any other non-corporate entities. So when we talk about non-corporate entities, it's basically your nonprofits, and it could be the gift tax returns, and it could be the excise tax returns, whatever it may be. So they are all inclusive in this. And the only caveat is these are only available for any due dates that fall on April 15th. So if you have a fiscal year end the due date falls in May or 15th, that's not eligible. So it's any of those individual trusts, estates, corporations that the due dates fall on April 15th. And what's included in this extension is basically the tax return filing. So you get the extended deadline from April 15th to July 15th. So all tax return filings have been extended to July 15th. There's nothing you have to do. It's just automatically extended. Now, if you need additional time beyond July 15th, you want to file an extension by July 15th, which gives you until October 15th to file your tax return. And the tax payments are also been extended. So if you are doing your 2019 return and there's a balance due on the return, that does not have to be paid until July 15th. So it just gives you the additional time to gather resources and pay the tax. The third thing here is the estimated tax payments. For a lot of self-employed taxpayers, they make their estimated tax payments quarterly. So the IRS said for the first quarter, the estimated tax payment, which are usually due April 15th, will be extended to July 15th. So these are the three major things: is the return filings, the payments, and the estimated tax payments. As far as tax payments go, if you make a payment after July 15th, the penalty and interest will start to accrue. So the payment is still due July 15th, even if you get an extension of filing from July 15th to October 15th. So the payment is still due July 15th. And the biggest question is what is not included in this extension? So the payroll tax deposits and the payroll reports are due on their due dates. There's no extension for those payments, but things changing, the new CARE Act has been signed into law, provides some relief. So that's for another topic. But there is some relief out there under the CARE Act. Partnerships and S corporations are not included in this if the due dates are March 15th. So most partnerships, S corporations were due March 15th. So you have to have filed an extension on March 15th. There is no extended deadline that includes this. And the excise tax payments, they haven't been extended. So if you have to pay the fuels tax or the construction road tax, any of the other excise taxes, those are still due on their original due dates. There is no extension for those. So just keep that in mind with the payroll tax deposits and reports. Some states have had their own due dates for payroll taxes and reports, and even sales tax. So we'll go over that in a couple of slides. So just to keep in mind what's included, what's not, and for your business, you get the extension for corporations to file until July 15th and pay the tax. For individuals, the same way. So from a business perspective, at least the income tax you can defer until July 15th, but the payroll taxes are not included in this scenario. So how do the states work? Because some states have gone with the federal government, some states have decided to come up with their own due date. So we'll look at the Quad State area, which is Delaware, Maryland, PA, and New Jersey. As far as Delaware goes, Delaware usually follows what the federal government does, and Delaware has extended their tax filing and the balance due on the 2019 tax return to July 15th. The first quarter estimated tax payment is also extended to July 15th, but oddly, the second quarter estimate tax payment is still due on June 15th. So this is kind of odd because you're making your second quarter payment before you make your first quarter, which they might decide to change down the road, but we don't know as of yet. But Delaware has specifically said that the second quarter payment is still due on June 15th. Delaware is including all corporations, individuals, estates, and trusts. And if you're going to file after July 15th, you have to get an extension from the state of Delaware. And if you make any payments after July 15, you're probably going to get some penalty and interest that's going to be tacked on to the balance due. So Delaware, very similar to federal, and we always expect Delaware to follow suit with federal government. They always have in most cases. So this is where Delaware is at this point, but we continue to monitor if there's any other changes. And PA, Pennsylvania has extended their balance due also, the filing and the balance due to July 15th, but Pennsylvania has gone a step further and said, you know what, you can make your first and second quarter estimated tax payments on July 15th as well. So it gives you some extra time on the second quarter payment. Pennsylvania only includes the personal income tax return. They haven't said anything on their website about any other corporate returns, corporate or estates or trusts. This is strictly for personal income tax. And same thing applies here. If you file after July 15, you do need an extension from Pennsylvania Department of Revenue, and you want to keep your eye on that. And the tax payments, if you make them after July 15th, it's the same scenario, penalty and interest will start to accrue. Let's move on to Maryland. So Maryland has taken a few steps further. They've extended the deadline to July 15, just like the federal government has for any balance due or filing of the tax return. The first quarter estimated tax payment extended to July 15th as well. There is no word on the second quarter at this point from the state of Maryland. So we're expecting the due dates for the second quarter to be the same as the original due date. And Maryland's has included all individuals, corporate estates, trusts, and all pass-through entities, which would be the S corps and partnerships. If you notice the federal government, they said that we're not gonna extend this deadline for S corporations and partnerships because they were due March 15th. But Maryland says, you know, it doesn't matter. We'll give you the extension for all pass-through entities, even if they were due March 15th of 2020. So that brings to our fourth, the bullet point is fiscal and calendar year filers that end from January 1st to March 31st, 2020 are eligible for the extended due date. Maryland has said the employment withholdings for payroll tax, income tax, and if they fall for the periods for February, March, and April, they can be submitted by June 1st. Same thing with sales and use tax. Any sales occurring in February, March, and April of 2020 can be submitted by June 1st. So they've gone a step further with their employee withholdings and sales and use tax. And same thing applies here. If you file a return after July 15, you have to get an extension, and the payments are still due on the 15th to avoid any penalty. So pretty much same across the board for the Quad State area. Few things that are different here and there, but if you're going to file in a different state, that you want to pay attention and continuously monitor their websites to see if they've updated any of the deadlines or payment due dates. And that brings us to our last state, New Jersey. New Jersey hasn't given much detail. They have sided with the federal government to extend the tax filing and the due date to July 15th, which includes the corporation business tax and individual gross income tax. So those two are included. And they haven't said anything about the estimated tax payments. The website will tell us to continue to monitor it for any changes. But at this point, there is no extended due date for the estimated tax payments. So if you're making estimated tax payments to the state of New Jersey, you want to check it closer to the due date to see if they've made any changes. Same thing if you file after July 15, you get an extension. If you make payments after July 15, they will tack on any additional penalty and interest that will accrue. So this is basically it as far as the extension goes. And I'm open to any questions that you guys may have on this.
Wonderful, thank you. We are getting a question regarding federal estimated tax payments for second quarter. What is the due date?
The second quarter due dates, as far as the federal government goes, they haven't changed that date. So we're still assuming that it's still the same, June 15th. Same thing with Delaware, Maryland, and New Jersey. Only Pennsylvania is the only state that has allowed the first and second quarter payment to be extended to July 15th. So at this point, only Pennsylvania in the Quad State area has allowed us to extend the due dates for the estimated tax payments. And like I said, it's kind of odd that you have to make the second quarter payment first and then the first quarter payment, but that's just the way it is at this point, unless something changes down the road.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. And if anyone does have any questions, please put them in the chat box and I can make sure to ask Alex. A few other questions I received. When do the interest and penalties start if I don't pay by the extension date?
So if you don't pay by the extended due date of July 15th, the interest and penalties will start to accrue as of July 16th. So July 16th and forward, that's when the interest and penalties will start to accrue. They won't go back to the original April 15th due date. So it'll be July 17th and going forward.
Okay. What about, I already filed my 2019 taxes and I owe the IRS, but I haven't paid yet. What do I need to do to avoid interest and penalties?
All you need to do is just make the payment by July 15th. Even if you file it doesn't make any difference. The payment due date is still July 15th, so you can actually hold off until July 15th, but you want to make sure that you make that payment by that extended due date to avoid any interest and penalties that will accrue after that date.
Wonderful. Okay. One more question. What does the, does the extended deadline give me more time to put money in my IRA?
Yes, because the IRA deadlines are tied to the filing deadlines of the tax returns. They're extended as well to July 15th.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Did anyone else have any other questions? Please put them in the chat box. I am not seeing anything else come through. Alex, I think you had a slide with your contact information.
Yes.
Did you want to put that up? If people have further questions, can they reach out to you directly, or what is the best course of action?
Yeah, they can reach out to me directly. I'm trying to. I think I'm having some trouble here. There you go. So I'm going to put up my.
Here, I can also put your contact information in the chat, so that way they can access it that way as well.
There's my information, my contact information. You can reach me here directly at the office. I am one of those people who are working from the office, so I'm usually here in the office, and you can shoot me an email if you have any questions or concerns about the filing deadlines or any other matters, including the CARE Act that's just been passed this couple days ago.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Alex. And we did record this, so we will also be able to share this with all of you in case any of you missed part of it. I know we had 1 or 2 people jump on after we had begun. So we will definitely share this information with all of you. On behalf of the Newcastle County Chamber, we appreciate all of you for attending, and also to Alex and Krista from Whisman Giordano and Associates for sharing this information with all of us today.
Thank you for attending. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.